Brilliant. So I am the host of this along with Dr. Wong Siew, and these are all my books. So everybody knows all about my books. What you don't know is how the launch of Curious Kai Asks Why went. And I've got to say, we have had the most amazing couple of weeks. So the first launch that we did, Sandra, who's here, is the illustrator, and Sandra and I launched the book at the Karoi Library on the Sunshine Coast earlier this month. And it was a absolutely fantastic launch. So we had some of the other people that are featured in the book there. One was Spencer Hitchin, that young person with a very, very large camera. He's a budding conservationist on the Sunshine Coast and quite an inspiration to all of us. And Milani, who is one of the young reviewers in this book, who is also a conservationist. Her species, you can probably guess, is koalas. So we had such an awesome time, didn't we? Sandra, have you got anything that you'd like to say about the launch?
No, I'm just sad I couldn't go to more of them.
So what Sandra's alluding to is we've actually got 3 launches. So that was the first one, and we had a packed room of young people and their parents. And once we'd actually talked about the book a bit, we had each of the experts had a table where they were doing a demonstration about their favorite species. The experts being Sandra, Milani, and Spencer, and we learned all kinds of incredible things and did a few activities. One thing that Sandra did I thought was very cool was bring along lots of boxes of different insects in display cabinets, and the children got to use magnifying glasses and see what they could find. It was a really good activity, I think. And then George and I drove all the way up to North Queensland, which is, it took us a couple of days for the second launch. So the second launch took place in Cairns Library in the middle of town in a building that looks like, I don't know, so it looks like a Greek Parthenon or something. A beautiful building. And this one happened together with 3 of the other experts that are featured in Curious Kai Asks Why. There we've got Marie Treadwell-Kerr, aka Batwoman. We have Graham Lorison, who is probably the key expert on cassowaries in the country. And we have Matt Connors, a young man of 28 years old who's already named 2 new insect species. Now, you've all met, I think, every one of these, because each of these 3 experts have been one of our guest speakers. If anyone watching wants to catch up on their talks they've done, they're all on the YouTube channel. And last month was Matthew Connors, which was absolutely amazing to hear all his adventures with different insects. So that's what I've been doing a little bit. Then of course we actually launched the book, which is very, very cool. Very, very happy with this book, and I'm really feel grateful to Sandra for being part of this journey with me and part of this adventure with the creation of Curious Kai. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's been really, really fun. Really enjoyed it so far. All right, so that is Curious Kai Asks Why. That's what's been going on there. We'll stop sharing for a minute. Where are we? Get to our next one. The next launch, we've got 3 launches, and the third one is in Brisbane. It's in Brisbane at West End at the Where the Wild Things Are bookshop on November 9th. November 9th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we'll have not 100% sure on which of the experts will be there, but we're going to have 3 or 4 of the other experts that are involved in the book to launch there. So Jenny, we might even see you there, I reckon. Next is we've got an update from excuse me, from Wildlife Wong, or Dr. Wong Siew. He'll tell us what you've been up to, won't you, Wong? And then guess who your guest speaker is today?
Yeah, hi. Can everybody hear me okay now?
Yep, go for it, Wong. What's going on?
Okay, well, I've been busy traveling lately, and what's going on? Busy running the center. Last week I was in Malaya Basin conservation area. Visiting real pristine rainforest. It was great to be there, but do a lot of driving. And then as far as for the bears, the center's bears is doing okay. visitors, we still have a lot of visitors every day. And then as of Tarbin, Tinom is getting more and more independent. There has been 2 nights already, 2 nights, independent nights where she did not come back and spend the night in the forest. So I think, which is a good sign that she's showing more and more independent
That's
and less and less,
fantastic news.
and less and less dependent on the caretaker, which is what as we planned. But again, she's still a little bit small size. She's like 25 kilogram
Okay.
to live completely independent. But this is her choice, right? We give her the choice of whether she want to tag along with the caretaker or live independently. Yeah. So she's going into the next phase where she's getting more and more independent, which is good.
So what?
But
She's
yeah.
at that size, isn't she, where she's now a bit too big for handlers to really walk her independently, isn't she? She's over that 20 kilo.
No, yeah, she's already 25 kilo. Yeah.
Right. So she's a bit dangerous at that sort of dangerous stage. So how are you coping with that?
No. She's doing really well. She don't play that much with the caretaker, meaning that she don't try to climb the caretaker's body, like when we have our bears over here. One of the problem is the bears want to play with the caretaker and end up the playing, like climbing a caretaker's body, will cause a lot of scratches and injuries. So that's not the case for Tina. She has been very, very independent, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is good. Which is good. And then Pitang also uh, grow quite well. She is 22 kilogram right now, and the reason why we know is because a few weeks ago we have Dr. Nabila come to the site to change the radio collar of both of the bears.
Okay.
Yeah. So which is good. Yeah. And then the elephant was in the camp for several weeks, and right now they're slowly moving away, which is good. Yeah. So, and then I'll give an update of the constructions update of our entrance foyer, which is almost complete now, and Wunbing is helping us to design the gateway, the signboard of the gateway, which is good. And then more signboard coming out. So yeah, so things are moving along. Yeah, and keep us busy as usual.
Yeah,
Good.
sounds like.
That's my update.
Who's got a question for Wong?
I have a question. When you're changing the radio collars now, do you have to sedate the bears because they're so big?
Yes, we have to sedate the bears. That's why we have Dr. Nabila went to the camp and then helped to change the collar.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, hi Claire.
Hi.
Who else has a question for Wong?
Can you hear me now? Still or not?
We can only just see. You could type it in if you want, or
Yes.
try typing it in and I'll read it out for you, Peter. How's that?
I have another question in the meantime.
Go for it, Claire.
The Malau Basin?
Maliao Basin.
Malau Basin. How long does it take to get there?
Oh, from Sandakan, we drive.
Yes.
We drive 3 hours to Lahadatu, and then additional 2.5 hours to Tawau, and additional 3.5 hours to Maliao. So you add up how many hours? 10 hours of driving.
Wow.
That's long.
Yes.
Yeah. So literally at the other side of Sabah, the southern side of Sabah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's a long way. It's a long way.
Said in your post, Wong, that you think it's well worth, people should definitely visit if they're in Sabah. What
Oh
makes
yeah, definitely, because it offered different things to see in the rainforest. I still have many postings that I haven't posted yet.
okay.
And then stay tuned, all of my fans. And you know, we only have 2 full days in the forest, which is not enough. You know, obviously, if next time, if I go there, I will spend like at least a week there, because a lot of the site, the interesting site is the is the waterfall, the real waterfall. I have to stress, not the digital waterfall. And you need to have, you know, 1 day or 2 day or 3 days of hike in order to get there.
Okay.
But it's worth that kind of hike to, you know, see the forests, and then of course on the long way you see a lot of different kind of forests. Yeah.
Looks like something we've all got to put on our bucket list, I reckon.
Yeah. Milo Basin is themed the Sabah Lost World.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So people at first, the authority thought nobody have ever been there. But when they really explore the area, they found traces of people used to go there to collect honey from the mangaris tree. Yeah,
Wow.
things like that. So it was a completely. If you look at the map, it looks like a crater from an asteroid hit many years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
Maliao Basin.
Wong, Peter's question is, are you feeding the bears at Tarbin, or are they foraging for themselves?
No, we still feed we still feed them. Yeah, because they're not 100%, you know, live independently yet. We have to feed them.
So
Yeah.
is the goal to sort of cut back that food over time? Is that the
Oh,
plan?
okay. So the goal is eventually when they got more and more independent, they will feed all by themselves. Yeah, and then if she want to come back, and we are ready to prepare food the for the soft release bear to come back if they want to have extra food. Yeah, they can. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it's a long process to slowly wean off from their dependency on people.
And have you had any new bear rescues recently, or is that slowing down quite considerably?
No, slowing down. So the last one we have, it was a year ago. Pitang. Yeah, a year ago, Pitang was the last rescue bear.
That's such great news, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think it's related to the tourists in. I hope I'm right, because we see when the tourist numbers is up, poaching incidence is low, because visitors, nature-based tourists, creates jobs and improve livelihood with the tourist money.
Yeah, and when people don't have tourism, then they resort to poaching to make money, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So Meryl is wondering how many bears you have at the center now. Is that still staying constant, or is it going up and down?
Yeah, right now we have 41
Okay.
at the center and 2 in the soft release camp in Tarbin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So relatively consistent.
Yeah, pretty consistent. Yeah.
We've still got Wong. Any more questions? while we've still got him here.
Yeah, any more questions?
Looks like that might be it, Wong. Oh no, hang on, Elijah's got one.
Well,
Hello, how are you?
hi, I'm good. Driving busy.
Oh yeah. How old do you have to be to volunteer where you work?
17 minimum. So how old are you?
5 more years, okay.
How long have you got, Liza?
5 more years.
Okay, you have to wait for 5 more years, unfortunately.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm sure there'll still be lots of
Then,
work.
yeah.
Lots of work still to be done in 5 years' time, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the reason is all because of the safety reason, right? Because we are taking care of bears, we are not taking care of Bambi nor rabbit.
Yeah.
And then every keepers, volunteers, they all have to be have to be disciplined, have to be able to take good care of themselves so that they can take care of our bears. Yeah, and there's no room for mistake when you are taking care of bears. So things
Yep.
like that. Yeah. So 5 years.
Fair enough. Now he knows. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I see you in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, Elijah, you've got 3 people here that have actually worked at the centre. Yeah, you've got Claire and Meryl and Peter, who can probably give you all kinds of advice on how to be a volunteer when you're ready. All right, I'm going to share my screen then and tell you all about my recent adventures in the Galapagos Islands. Is there anyone here who's been to the Galapagos yet? No? Okay, so everything hopefully will be somewhat new for you. So the Galapagos Islands, I've titled this talk From Discovery to Global Conservation Leadership, and the reason I've done that is because the Galapagos is as an island group that is probably the leader in conservation and policy making when it comes to conservation of natural areas. So where are the Galapagos Islands? They lie off the coast of South America, 970 kilometers from the coast. They were discovered by someone called Fray Tomás de Berlanga in 1535. The early days of human history here in these islands were about settlement and plunder, basically. But this remoteness also created a really unique ecosystem where species have evolved in isolation. And that's what we know this area for mostly today. What makes the Galapagos special? There's 4 things I want to talk about today: remoteness, currents, protection, and the lack of predators. Yeah. When we talk about remoteness, we're in the middle of nowhere, absolutely in the middle of nowhere. And that makes a very, very different ecosystem. When we talk about that ecosystem, there are a lot of species that only live in the Galapagos Islands. 3 of the most well-known are this one, the marine iguana, which dives up to 30 meters and holds their breath for up to 40 minutes. They graze on algae and seaweed on the seabed, and they consume huge amounts of salt in that process. So they have specialized nasal glands that filter salt from their blood. And when they sit in colonies like the one in this picture, and enough of that salt has accumulated, the iguanas sit there and constantly sneeze, and they spray salt water when they sneeze, which is very funny when you've got a pile of like 50 of them and there's constant little sneezes going on. It's quite amazing to watch. The second one that you've probably heard of is the Galapagos tortoise. This is the largest living species of tortoise on Earth. It grows to over 1.3 meters long and weighs up to about 300 kilos. The oldest of these slow-moving creatures lived about 175 years old, which is pretty impressive, I reckon. And the reason they can live that long is they have a very, very slow metabolism, which enables them to survive an entire year without food or water. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Wish I could do that sometimes. Then this one, I'm sure you've seen this one. This is probably the animal I was most looking forward to seeing when I went to the Galapagos. This is the blue-footed booby, one of 3 species of boobies in the archipelago that live on different islands in the archipelago. They don't all live together. Their name, the booby, does not come from a part of the female anatomy. This name comes from the Spanish word bobo, which means clown. And when you see them actually playing around, you can see where they got that name. It's probably partly to do with their feet, but also the way that they act is pretty incredible. So the remoteness of the Galapagos is important in the archipelago, not just in the distance they are from the mainland. So the Galapagos consists of 18 major islands, but there's 127 total. They cover 8,000 square kilometers, and many species exist only on one or other of the islands. And it was this that interested a man we're all probably familiar with called Charles Darwin when he visited these islands in 1835 on a trip on the Beagle. I'm pretty sure you've all, everyone's heard of Darwin, haven't we? This is Darwin. In his old age, he wasn't quite so old when he traveled to the Galapagos, but Darwin noticed differences in the finches from one island to another in the Galapagos. You can see his sort of plan. He noticed he was paying a close attention to the beaks, and he concluded that their distinct beak types were adaptations to different food sources on the different islands. And the islands are very different. Some of them are volcanic, some of them are more vegetative, and so he identified that they were adapting then to those different island environments. But because they were all finches, it suggested that there was a single ancestral finch species which had evolved over time through a process of natural selection to fill different ecological niches. The idea of adaptation was incredibly controversial then, as it is now in religious communities, and Darwin was reluctant to publish his findings, so he hid them in the bottom drawer for quite some time. Until this man came along. Now, this man is very, very cool man. This is because The Origin of Species, which was Darwin's major work, would not have been published without this man. Who knows who he is? Someone does. I'm sure they do. I know Wong does. Anyone else want to have a guess? Go for it, Alexander. What do we got?
Alfred Wallace.
It is. Well done. This is Alfred Russel Wallace. It's also an Englishman. He came to the same conclusion that that Darwin did, but he was in the middle of the jungle in Borneo, where Wong is at the time. So Wallace was remote. So he wrote to his friend Darwin in London and explained his ideas. While Darwin's data was gathering dust in his bottom drawer, and he was really scared of publishing anything because of the potential religious repercussions, Wallace's letter prompted him to gather his courage, and a set of papers with both Darwin and Wallace's name on them was published as a single article in 1858. It doesn't sound too radical, but the simple theory is still causing waves and rifts today, as we know, quite particularly in the United States. For those of us who embrace the theory of evolution, it explains how the world developed without a supernatural agency. It also suggests that the world has been shaped by incremental changes over billions of years. It showed us that species that outgrow themselves or their environment risk extinction because they're destroying the means of their own survival. So there's many things that we learned from this theory. So the paper was followed soon after by publication of The Origin of Species. Incidentally, it was published on American Thanksgiving Day in 1859, just in case that's an interesting trivia question that you ever get. In this seminal work, Darwin used his findings to steadily and sensibly build a new way of looking at the world around us, which we rely on today. He does this by asking the reader to open their eyes once again to nature. And I think that's something that we need to do again, to consider bees, pigeons, worms, and hedgerows, and to look around ourselves and judge his theories with our own eyes. He said, there's a grandeur in this view of life. From so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful, have been and are being evolved. And I think that's such a gorgeous way of putting it, don't you? It just teaches us that this idea of evolution is continuing. You know, it's not, this isn't just a one-off kind of idea. So back to the Galapagos, the Ecuadorian government claimed the islands in 1832, only 3 years before Darwin visited. And they introduced wildlife protection laws in the 1930s, proposing a wildlife sanctuary there. They realized that the Galapagos was like no other place on Earth. And one of the things that makes it like no other place on Earth is movement of water. So how does that work? There are several main sea currents in the Galapagos, and they have an influence on the archipelago and its wildlife. Perhaps the most important is the Humboldt Current, named after the 19th century European explorer and naturalist Alexander von Humboldt. This is a cold South Equatorial current, which comes into the Galapagos waters from the west and runs up the whole coast of South America, heading north from the cooler waters of Antarctica. So when it gets to the equator, it turns west. The Humboldt current influences life on land and in the sea in the Galapagos because the current brings with it nutrients. It feeds plankton and plants, and the whole ecosystem grows from those plankton and plants. For instance, the Galapagos penguin. This penguin is reliant on this current for the cool water because penguins need cool water. The second current with an influence, though, is a Panama current. This comes in from the north and it brings warmer waters to the Galapagos Islands, mostly during the wet season. It's not as nutrient rich as the Humboldt, but it provides the necessary conditions for mangroves to grow, resulting in the only place on Earth where you can also see penguins and mangroves together. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Since the Galapagos sits on the equator, this is also the only place on Earth you can see penguins in the Northern Hemisphere. There you go. You might get that in your trivia one day too. So finally, the Cromwell current is a very deep sea current and it runs from the west. This drives nutrients up from the lowest levels to the surface, supporting abundant and diverse life, like flamingos. Yes, believe it or not, there are flamingos in the Galapagos as well. And I happened to manage to see some while I was there, which was very, very cool. So the Galapagos Islands National Park was established in 1958, and it was one of the first national parks to be inscribed in UNESCO's World Heritage List in 1978. This was followed by protection for the surrounding waters and the marine life around the area as well. Then in 1998, Ecuador created a special law for the Galapagos, which essentially puts nature first, making it an exemplar for environmental protection. This process has not been without challenges, though. The UNESCO listing was in danger of being lost in 2007. And the reason for this was there was rapid population growth on some of the inhabited islands, and this led to a strain in infrastructure. It also led to over-tourism, excuse me, and the inability to stop the introduction of invasive species that were brought by people visiting. That was mostly due to poor enforcement of environmental regulations. Now, Ecuador luckily took this warning very seriously and doubled down on protection. They did it for a number of different reasons and ways. So visitor numbers are limited to 1,660 people on boats and 180 on day cruises per day. Let's put that in context. That's a third of the visitors per day that they have in the White House. Yeah, that's a bit interesting, right? This number has been unchanged for about 2 decades. So they're maintaining that sort of a level. Every tourist or tour group is required to be accompanied by a certified naturalist guide when they go ashore, which means that there's no problems or very, very few problems with people going off and doing things they're not allowed to. The guides are obliged to file a report within 15 days of every single trip, saying what's gone wrong or what's gone right. So it's quite detailed, the control. Even having said that, there's a few other things that have been introduced. Excuse me. Last year in August, they doubled the entry fee for the national park. So it used to be $100 US to get in, which you have to pay the moment you step foot in the airport. Now it's $200 US in cash the moment you step into the island. So what they're doing here is they're shifting the tourism in the Galapagos from high volume, where a lot of people go, to a low volume or high yield tourism, where people pay more to go, but they have less people and therefore less impact. Now, this obviously comes with social potential issues in that it's not an egalitarian sort of a place to visit. You have to be quite well off to be able to go to the Galapagos Islands, and that's a negative. but this is how they're managing to protect the islands a little bit. In addition to that, in 2022, the Marine Reserve was expanded by 198,000 square kilometers. So it's now actually supports an area of ocean that protects migratory species as they travel through the waters, as well as those islands and the people and the animals that live on the islands. So pretty amazing, I think. The International Galapagos Tourism Operators Association, however, is calling for a zero growth policy on land, because although there's good protection in the land, in the waters, there's not very good protection on land yet. Okay, the Ecuadorian government has not fully implemented this yet, and there's still growth in the villages and the cities that are on the actual islands itself. So the strategy that they'd like to put in place involves a moratorium on new tourism projects, limiting flights, and managing land-based tourism in a similar way to they've been doing with boat-based tourism. And these are cutting-edge policies. They're cutting-edge tourism policies that could be potentially adopted in other places with similar sort of biodiversity needs. So I've wanted to go to the Galapagos since I was about 10. That's probably when I first ever heard the word Darwin. And this year I turned 60. I figured that milestone was as good a reason as any to go to the Galapagos. And it took me 3 years to save up enough money and plan how to actually get there, because it's not particularly easy to get there from Australia. My friends and I chose to explore the islands on this locally owned vessel called Samba, which takes a maximum of 15 guests. We wanted to go on a locally owned vessel because the money stays within the Galapagos Islands, and that was important to us. We wanted to go on with a team of local people that actually live in the islands and have generations worth of knowledge. And we were certainly not disappointed. The team were absolutely incredible. There's a team of 5 people, 5 crew, and the naturalist actually owns the vessel. So he's bought into everything that he talks about, I guess. We chose to go on their northwest itinerary, and it took us 7 nights to circumnavigate the islands. This was, and this is not an exaggeration, this was the best week of my entire life. Which brings me to what makes this archipelago unique. Before I arrived, people told me that you could get close to wildlife in the Galapagos Islands. And do you know what I thought? I really didn't have a concept of what that meant. Perhaps it meant I wouldn't need to use my binoculars much. You know, that's what I was thinking. But instead, it meant I wouldn't need a zoom lens. I wouldn't need any lens. I would have to walk around animals. Yeah, that's what it meant. They were not going to move. They're not scared of people because there has been absolutely no, people are not predators in these islands. And it's the only place I have ever been where animals have not been scared of people. Yeah, and think about that. That's scary, right? Animals get out of our way because we are the main apex predator on Earth. And in the Galapagos, they don't actually know that, which is absolutely impressive. It meant that I'm going to see if I can play you this little bit. I could play with sea lion pups, which is an amazing thing to do. I got so dizzy trying to play with sea lion pups that I made myself sick because you had to actually keep twirling around to keep them interested in playing with you. And if you just lie on the surface, you're too boring. They'll take off and go and do something else. This is a mother sea lion. And that was her pup. Pretty cool, right? Every time I went swimming, I saw a sea lion, which was quite amazing. It also meant that I sat on this beach with sea urchin spines underneath my bottom and watched a Galapagos hawk a few feet away attempt to fly off with a newly born sea lion placenta, only to discover that it was actually still attached to the sea lion. It had to let go, and the mother screamed as loud as it possibly could. I felt I was in a David Attenborough documentary, I have to say. It meant I also, here we go, there's a newborn right there. Very, very baby. It meant I saw things like flamingos right up close. It meant that I went paddle boarding. There's me on the paddleboard and a view of a turtle coming by when we were in the mangroves. I was standing on a stand-up paddleboard, and below me were 4 reef sharks circling. Then I turned around to see a squadron of baby eagle rays flying by, and turned the other direction to see a penguin zoom underneath just like a bullet. That was in the space of about 5 minutes. Yeah, this is what the Galapagos has to offer, and I think it's a place that deserves protection from every single thing that we need to protect. Yeah, if you have a chance of protecting the Galapagos, if you have a chance of going to the Galapagos, then I absolutely recommend it. If you're privileged enough to get there, I cannot recommend the Samba more highly. One, that person in the middle, who is the owner and the naturalist, is an encyclopedia of knowledge. So much so that my head was hurting every single day, and the crew were exceptional. This is actually not the last you're going to hear of these magical islands, because Juan and I are now going to collaborate on a children's book about the Galapagos Islands. So watch this space. That's basically all I've got to say about the Galapagos, but I'm open for any questions or comments.
Well, I think from this this world of wildlife, there's my list of places to go is definitely growing. It looks absolutely incredible, and I'm really happy that you've been there and are able to share that experience to inspire the rest of us. Thank you.
I do hope you get there one day, because I don't think I breathed properly for an entire week.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else got any thoughts or questions? Elijah, what would you like to add?
It's absolutely my #1 place to go. I've adored it since I was very young. Like, if I could choose anywhere to go in the world, it would definitely be the Galapagos.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I get it, because I was younger than you when I decided I needed to go, Elijah. So you'll get there. You might, hopefully you don't have to wait to 60 though.
No.
Yeah. Well,
not.
I actually have a question. How I get terribly boat sick. It doesn't stop us from going anywhere, but it does actually stop me from enjoying the boat ride wherever we're going. How was the boat ride?
Do you know, it's I'm worried about that too. I actually grew up on a boat, but I get seasick. And I was worried about that, and George will attest to this. When I left home, George said to me, what are you most looking forward to? And I said, or hoping for in the Galapagos. And I said, I'm hoping that I don't get seasick for an entire week, you know, and I didn't. What I did is sometimes we navigated from one island to another at night, you know, so the crew were navigating while we were asleep. And on those nights, I took seasick medication just as a backup. And I'm glad I did, because I think it helped a lot. I found that the boat was really stable, and I did not have problems. Now, my 2 companions, one of them felt a bit sick. She threw up on the first day, and then her stomach settled down, and she was fine for the rest of the time. I know when I used to live on a boat that it used to take me about three days for my stomach to settle, and then I would be okay. So I think that was the worst case scenario that I was considering, but I didn't find that I needed it.
Get off. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And did you have a question?
What was your favorite animal that you saw?
Oh, that's so difficult.
That's a hard question.
That is so difficult. I probably have to say the sea lions and the fur seals, because they were so playful, and I just loved every second I spent with them. They were just they interacted so well. It was incredible. But then there were birds like frigate birds, you know, the frigate birds puff up their chest red, and they sit on the males sit on this nest, and they look up at the sky, and they're waiting, they're trying to attract a female to come down, you know, with this big chest, and they're sitting up there hoping and hoping, and it's so funny to watch these females just come down and take a look and take off, and then they get a bit despondent, and apparently when they come down, when the females come down, it takes the male's chest about 24 hours to go back to normal size before they can actually mate. So the female has to sit around for a while before anything can happen, which is kind of funny.
And one last question.
Yeah, go for it.
Have you seen, I can't remember what it's called, but I remember watching a David Attenborough documentary once, and it was about the Galapagos, and in it, there was this part where all the baby iguanas had to run across this stretch of sand and rocks, and there was all these snakes waiting for them.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that. I didn't see it in person, but I did see that documentary. It's pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd seen it in person.
Oh, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you about that I think you'd find pretty amazing. So a lot of the islands are all volcanic, as you can see behind me. They're very volcanic. Some of them are newer than others, and some of the islands are just pure lava. So when we went ashore, we're walking across crunchy black lava, you know, and some of them, they're in this lava, there's streams, there's freshwater streams through the islands, and they filter through the lava, and then they go out into a bay, sort of like this one here, right? And they or through the mangroves. And one day we went snorkeling through the mangroves, through these little inlets in the lava, and the water coming down is fresh water, and the water in the ocean is salt water. And when these two mix, it ends up looking, you snorkel as if you're snorkeling through jello, because it's like you can't see anything. It's like you need to go to Specsavers. You can't see a damn thing through your glasses, and then it's all like a mirage underwater, and you swim through this little bit of fresh water, and then it comes clear again, and then you swim back through and you can't see anything. And it's the weirdest sensation not to be able to see underwater, because it's just jello. It's hard to describe, but when you get there, Elijah, you've got to tell me if I described that well enough. Yes,
definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all right. Anyone else? Well, thank you for being here, everyone. It's kind of interesting being a guest speaker for a change. I've enjoyed doing it, and I hope you've enjoyed the presentation too. So for everybody else who's watching Catching Up, I just want to do a little plug for where you can find this video again if you want to share it. It'll be on my YouTube channel, as are all the other presenters that we've had over the last 2 or 3 years that we've been running World of Wildlife. So you can catch up on any that you've missed, including Matt Connors, the entomologist who was last month. You can also follow me on all the other things that are there. So please do. It's lovely to have your support, and yeah, please share anything that you see. And if you can join any of these, like any of these, subscribe to the YouTube channel, that really helps me get the word out as well. So I super appreciate that if you can.